are going to be looking into the book of Exodus, chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20. And the title of my message is How to Love God. But what is love? Well, if you listen to the songs that are played on the radio over the years, you have some interesting definitions. It's kind of frightening to think that some people might come up with their view of love from movies and songs on the radio. Well, what do we know about love from songs, for instance? Well, for starters, we know that what the world needs now is love, sweet love. Okay, so we'll start there. But what is love? Well, of course, we know love is a many-splendored thing, right? Another sings, love is the answer. Led Zeppelin reminded us that we need a whole lot of love. And then Phil Collins reminds us you can't hurry love. But why? Another says, well, that's the way love goes. All right, let's put together what we've already learned about love. It's the answer. It's many-splendored. We need a whole lot of it. You can't hurry it because that's the way it goes. But someone had to go and rain on our love parade by recording a song that said, I said I loved you, but I lied. Causing the Black Eyed Peas to wonder in their song, where is the love? Another warns, too much love will kill you. Maybe that's why Dionne Warwick sang, I'll never love this way again. And Tina Turner reminded us, what's love got to do with it? And that's probably why the Jay Giles Band recorded the song called Love Stinks. But then you remember that guy Meatloaf? He recorded a song, said he would do anything for love. Remember that band called Bread? How many of you remember Bread? Oh, wow. Okay. They had a song out as well called Lost Without Your Love. I think Meatloaf, the Black Eyed Peas, and Bread ought to go on tour. Just makes me hungry thinking about it. And they could bring along that one-hit wonder band. They were called the 1910 Fruit Gum Company. Is that not a stupid name for a band? But you know their song, I guarantee it. Yummy, 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 I've got... That's right. Love in my tummy. Oh my. I guess the Beatles recorded the definitive song on love. All you need is love. Then they broke up and sued each other. It was a beautiful thing, really. Various philosophers have opined on love as well. Plato said, love, it's a grave mental disease. He had probably been listening to the Jay Giles Band song, Love Stinks, a little bit too much. Oliver Wendell Holmes was more optimistic about love when he said to us, love is the master key that opens the gates of happiness. Another said, love makes your soul crawl out of its hiding place. Even another says, love is the only sane and satisfactory answer to the problem of human existence. Well, what is love? The Bible says clearly, God is love. And we don't have a greater example of love than what we have in God showing his love toward us. Probably the definitive statement on love is John 3:16. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, and whoever believes in him should not perish and have everlasting life. And probably the greatest definition of love is 1 Corinthians 13. From a modern translation, it says, love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for itself. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. Love isn't always me first. Love doesn't keep score of the sins of others. Love puts up with anything. It trusts God always. It always looks for the best. It never looks back. Love keeps on going to the end. So as I already said, we have this amazing example of love where God loved us. So how should we respond? We ought to love him back. In fact, the Bible says we love him because he first loved us. Now, we can talk all day about love, how much we love God. We can sing about our love for God. We can speak of our love for God. But probably the best way to show our love for the Lord is in what we do. Jesus said to us in John 14:15, if you love me, keep my commandments. So, we're in a new series now that we're calling Worldview, how to think and live biblically. And we're talking about the Ten Commandments to start because it gives us a set of absolutes to live by, to form our opinions by, so we can look at the world and life and everything through a biblical lens. And you remember that Jesus really summed up the Ten Commandments when he said, you should love the Lord with all of your heart, your soul, and your mind, and you should love your neighbor as yourself. And if we work on that, we will really get to the heart of the Ten Commandments, because the commandments are broken into two sections, 4 and 6. The first 4 have to do with our relationship with God. The final 6 have to do with our relationship with others. So if I'm loving the Lord with all of my heart, soul, and mind, I will not have other gods before him. I won't bow before graven images. I won't take his name in vain. If I'm loving my neighbor as I ought to love myself, I won't lie to my neighbor or steal from them or covet what belongs to them, and I certainly would not kill them. The Ten Commandments. God gives us absolute truth in them. We've looked at the first one. Let's look at the rest. Commandment number 1, Exodus 20, verse 2 and 3. I'm the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. That's the first commandment. What does it mean? As we saw, this God with the small g could be a lot of things. Any person, any pursuit, any passion that takes the place of God in our life could potentially be an idol. Someone or something, and if you were to lose it, would leave you desolate. That is the place for God and God alone in your heart. The Lord wants to be number 1 in your life. He wants your faithfulness. He wants us to be loyal to him. Don't have any other gods before him. How sad it is when a husband leaves his wife, or a wife leaves her husband. How tragic it is when there is unfaithfulness in the marriage. But let me ask you this. Wives, how would you feel if your husband left you for another, but you found out it wasn't another woman? Well, it was kind of a woman. Actually, what it was a mannequin. You know what a mannequin is? That they dress them in the stores. Your husband left you for a mannequin. What? You demand an explanation. Well, I saw her down at the department store, and she's very pretty. She looks good at night and in the morning. She never nags me. She's always smiling. She goes with me anywhere I want to go. Anytime I want to go there. She goes to the restaurant that I choose. She never complains. I'm in love with the mannequin. You would think my husband has flipped his lid. Is it any stranger when we leave the true God for a false God? And especially a graven image. I actually read an article in the paper the other day about a woman that was busted for driving in a carpool lane with a mannequin. And the officer pulled her over. And as it turns out, she had dressed this mannequin up with a brunette wig, makeup. She was had very stylish clothing and so forth. And so the officer, knowing what was going on, said, ma'am, I'm going to need to see your license and registration. And I want to see her ID as well. The woman was not amused, the article said, and she said to the officer she saw no problem with her dummy since everyone else is doing it. Really? Are a lot of people driving around with dummies? Well, maybe they are. I guess it comes down to your definition of a dummy. But I'll tell you one thing. There's a lot of people worshiping dummies, if you will, or at least a dumbed down version of God. Listen, the first commandment has to do with worshiping the right God. We must reject every false god in order to worship the true God, who is the only God. But the second commandment has to do with worshiping the right God in the right way. We must worship him the way he wants us to worship him, not with a man-made idol, because how we worship matters as much as whom we worship. The first commandment, have no other gods before him, has to do with the existence of other gods. The second commandment, making a graven image and worshiping or bowing before it, forbids the making of other gods. It's possible to break the first commandment and not be completely aware of it, but one would be very aware of the fact that they're breaking the second commandment.